America finds itself increasingly polarized, with a wedge driven between its people on critical issues. Few topics cut as deeply as the debate surrounding diversity, equity and inclusion, or DEI programs. Once hailed as tools for progress and equality, DEI initiatives are now facing a fierce backlash, with many viewing them as divisive and discriminatory. Former President Donald Trump has seized upon this discontent, making the elimination of DEI programs a cornerstone of his political platform. This vocal segment views DEI as an attack on traditional American values, an attempt to rewrite history, and a form of reverse discrimination. Adding fuel to the fire is an impending federal deadline that looms large over the DEI debate. The clock is ticking, and the outcome of this political battle could have far-reaching consequences for the social fabric of the nation. Against this backdrop, a recent poll conducted by Fox News has ignited a firestorm of controversy. The poll reveals widespread support for Trump's stance on DEI programs, suggesting a significant portion of the electorate is eager to see his vision for America realized. The Fox News poll delivered a stark message. A substantial majority of respondents, 64%, expressed their support for ending DEI programs in their current form. This resounding figure sent shockwaves through the political establishment and ignited fervent celebrations among Trump's base. For them, it was a validation of their deeply held beliefs, proof that their concerns about DEI were not just the fringe ravings of a disgruntled few. When asked about their primary reasons for opposing DEI initiatives, respondents did not mince words. An overwhelming 72% pointed to what they perceived as reverse discrimination, arguing that DEI programs unfairly disadvantage certain groups, particularly white Americans. This sentiment, deeply rooted in a sense of grievance and a fear of being displaced, resonated powerfully with a significant segment of the population. Further fueling the flames of discontent was the belief shared by 68% of respondents that DEI programs were divisive and served only to exacerbate racial and social tensions. These respondents longed for a return to a time when such differences were downplayed, when the emphasis was on unity and shared national identity. Adding to this sense of unease was a widespread perception, echoed by 62% of those polled, that DEI programs were promoting a culture of victimhood and entitlement. They saw DEI as a form of social engineering that undermined individual merit and fostered a sense of resentment among those who did not fit neatly into predefined categories of diversity. Perhaps most concerning for proponents of DEI was the poll's finding that opposition to these programs transcended generational lines. While support for ending DEI was strongest among older demographics, a significant portion of younger Americans also voiced their opposition. This suggested that the backlash against DEI was not merely a relic of a bygone era. The poll's findings were a clear indication that the debate over DEI was far from settled. The stage was set for a protracted and acrimonious battle over the soul of the nation, with far-reaching implications for the future of American society. Delving deeper into the demographics of the poll results reveals a stark picture of the American electorate's divisions on DEI. Blue-collar workers emerged as some of the most ardent supporters of dismantling DEI programs. Many blue-collar workers feel increasingly alienated in an economy that seems to reward those with advanced degrees and specialized skills, leaving them behind with stagnant wages and diminishing job security. They see DEI programs as yet another layer of bureaucracy that disadvantages them, privileging what they perceive as elite notions of diversity over their lived experiences and contributions to society. In their eyes, DEI represents a system rigged against them, further eroding their already precarious economic standing. This sense of economic vulnerability is compounded by a deep-seated cultural alienation. The Fox News poll also revealed a strong correlation between religious affiliation and support for ending DEI programs. White evangelical Christians emerged as one of the most vocal groups in favor of Trump's stance on DEI. Their opposition stems from a deeply held belief that DEI initiatives contradict their religious values and undermine their vision of a God-centered society. Many evangelical Christians view DEI's emphasis on diversity and inclusion as a form of secular humanism, prioritizing human reason over divine revelation. They are particularly wary of DEI's embrace of LGBTQ+ rights, which they see as incompatible with their interpretation of biblical teachings. Furthermore, many evangelical Christians perceive DEI initiatives as a direct assault on their religious freedom. The poll also highlighted a significant educational divide in attitudes towards DEI. Respondents with higher levels of education were significantly less likely to support ending DEI programs compared to those with a high school diploma or less. Individuals with college degrees are often exposed to a more diverse range of perspectives and experiences. They are more likely to have encountered and engaged with concepts of systemic racism, unconscious bias, and the historical legacies of discrimination. In contrast, individuals without college degrees may have limited exposure to these concepts and may rely on alternative sources of information that often portray DEI in a negative light. The potential consequences of ending DEI programs loom large, casting a long shadow over the American ideal of equal opportunity. For proponents of DEI, these programs represent a crucial step towards leveling the playing field, ensuring that individuals from all backgrounds have a fair shot at achieving the American dream. They argue that systemic barriers continue to disadvantage marginalized groups, hindering their access to education, employment, and social mobility. Ending DEI programs, they contend, would be akin to dismantling the scaffolding before the building is complete. Without these programs, they fear that the cycle of poverty and disadvantage will perpetuate, further widening the chasm between the haves and the have-nots. This rollback of opportunity would have a particularly devastating impact on communities of color, who have historically borne the brunt of discrimination and exclusion. Beyond the realm of economics and opportunity, the potential consequences of ending DEI programs extend to the very fabric of American society. Proponents of DEI argue that these programs play a vital role in fostering a more inclusive and tolerant society. By promoting dialogue, understanding, and empathy across difference, DEI initiatives aim to bridge divides and create a more just and equitable society for all. Ending DEI programs, they warn, would send a dangerous message that America is retreating from its commitment to pluralism. It would stifle the voices and experiences of marginalized communities, silencing their narratives and erasing their contributions to American life. This retreat from inclusivity would have a chilling effect on free speech and open dialogue, further polarizing an already fractured society. Section 3. A House Divided. The potential impact of ending DEI programs on education is a subject of particular concern for proponents of these initiatives. They argue that DEI plays a crucial role in equipping students with the knowledge and skills necessary to navigate an increasingly diverse world. By fostering inclusive learning environments and incorporating diverse perspectives into curricula, DEI initiatives aim to prepare students to become engaged and responsible citizens. Ending DEI programs, they contend, would deprive students of these essential tools, leaving them ill-equipped to understand and address the complex challenges of the 21st century. Students, particularly those from marginalized backgrounds, would be denied the opportunity to see themselves reflected in the curriculum. Without the frameworks and support provided by DEI, schools could become breeding grounds for bias, discrimination, and bullying. Section 4. The Unseen Costs of Division. The potential consequences of ending DEI programs extend far beyond the immediate impact on marginalized communities. Proponents of DEI argue that a society that embraces diversity and inclusion is not merely a moral imperative but also an economic and social necessity. They point to numerous studies demonstrating that diverse and inclusive workplaces are more innovative, productive, and profitable. Ending DEI programs, they warn, would send a chilling message to the global community, signaling that America is retreating from its role as a champion of diversity and inclusion. The decision of whether to dismantle these programs represents a crossroads for America, a defining moment that will determine the course of the nation for generations to come. Section 1. A Crossroads of Conviction. The Fox News poll, a stark reflection of the nation's deeply entrenched divisions, reveals a seismic shift in the American electorate's outlook on diversity and inclusion. The resounding support for ending DEI programs, particularly among key demographics like blue-collar workers, white evangelical Christians, and those with lower levels of education, underscores a profound disconnect between the lived experiences and aspirations of a significant portion of the population and the perceived excesses of identity politics. This disconnect, fueled by economic anxieties, cultural shifts, and a deep-seated belief that the American dream is slipping out of reach, has created a fertile ground for the politics of resentment and division. The poll's findings serve as a stark warning against dismissing the concerns of those who feel unheard and unseen. Their anxieties about economic displacement, cultural alienation, and the erosion of traditional values are not mere figments of imagination, but rather reflections of genuine struggles and anxieties. The desire for a return to a perceived era of stability and shared national identity, however nostalgic or idealized, cannot be simply dismissed as bigotry or ignorance. It reflects a yearning for belonging, for recognition, for a sense of place in a rapidly changing world. The challenge confronting America is not to shy away from these uncomfortable truths, but rather to engage with them head-on, to bridge the chasm of understanding that separates those who champion DEI and those who view it with suspicion and resentment. This requires a willingness to listen without prejudice, to acknowledge legitimate grievances without condoning bigotry, and to seek common ground without sacrificing principles of equality and justice. Section 2. The Unfinished Tapestry. The debate over DEI is not merely an academic exercise or a political football to be kicked around for electoral gain. It is a fundamental question about the very soul of America, a test of its commitment to the ideals of equality, opportunity, and justice for all. The decision of whether to dismantle DEI programs represents a crossroads in the nation's journey, a defining moment that will shape its destiny for generations to come. To dismantle DEI programs in their entirety would be to declare that America has abandoned its aspiration to become a more perfect union, a society where every individual, regardless of their background or beliefs, has the opportunity to reach their full potential. It would be to turn away from the promise of e pluribus unum, out of many, one, and to embrace a vision of America as a fragmented and divided nation, where opportunity is determined by the circumstances of one's birth, rather than the content of one's character. The path forward lies not in dismantling DEI but in refining and strengthening it, in ensuring that it lives up to its promise of creating a more just and equitable society for all. This requires a nuanced and thoughtful approach, one that acknowledges the legitimate concerns of those who feel alienated by DEI while reaffirming the nation's unwavering commitment to equality and inclusion. It demands a willingness to engage in difficult conversations, to challenge entrenched biases, and to work together to weave a more inclusive and vibrant tapestry of American life. The future of the nation, its very soul, hangs in the balance.